Okay.
Are we back?
Were we ever gone? That's the question.
Were we ever here?
Miss us?
I don't think, to be honest, like, are we even a state of being, or are we just a fiction of our own imaginations?
Were we ever we? Sorry, Tree, I cut you off.
All this and more on the Twilight Zone.
What just... Hello, everyone. We are back after how many weeks did we take? A 2-week hiatus? Oh my gosh.
After like a month hiatus or something like that.
Yeah. Those weeks hiatus. Brandon is praying to the football gods that the Denver Broncos receivers stay healthy.
It's exactly what I was doing.
Sure. I'm reading your mind.
Brandon, I have a quick question. Are you willing to give your hamstring to Jerry Jeudy if he stays healthy this year?
Yes.
Remember last year when you were like, he's going to get traded. We're going to get some stuff.
I was like, let's trade him.
Yep. How the
he's not very good. And then all of a sudden, he was great again. I know nothing.
He's making the Broncos great again. So we have an episode here. Above me is Urinating Tree, a legacy of failure. Over here is this guy, Brandon. What have you been up to? What have you been doing? I don't care what Tree's been doing. I care what you've been doing.
Of course you don't care what I've been doing. I actually can't swear.
You lost some weight, buddy. You're looking good.
I don't know.
Look at that guy. He's been stepping on that scale.
What I really have is it's like a little balloon, and it's slowly deflating over time,
Congratulations, buddy. You look great.
No, it's deflating. I'm just deflating it naturally, There's a hole somewhere. I just got to patch it up. It's all.
Oh, look at that butt shot there from Brandon. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then to round out the crew, we have Tom Grossi. How have you been? You look a little tan. Have you gone somewhere? Were you anywhere recently?
Yeah, went to sunny Green Bay, Wisconsin, and got a tan.
Hey, Green Bay can get pretty warm around that
time.
I think
it's called a burn, guys.
Yeah, that's
your skin tone is definitely the definition of a Green Bay tan right now.
Yeah, no, it 1,000,000% is. Yeah, no, I go outside and I'll go for a walk with the dogs, and by the time I get back, I'm like, oh, I got some color, and then that's not my friend.
I forgot to close my blinds. I got burnt sleeping late this morning.
That's accurate, yeah.
All right, we have an episode here. Obviously, the title of our show is Trey Lance getting dropped. Why are you guys eating your microphones?
Why not?
All the cool people are doing it.
Yeah, everyone's doing it.
Let him eat the microphone. Maybe he's on a diet. Maybe he needs his macros. This is probably good protein.
Fuck it. Let's eat some mics.
Oh, we can cuss. That's right. Scooter,
the
fifth member of the crew, is out today.
I can't wait for that to be a gift, Perna.
Did Scooter put in his PTO request? Did one of y'all approve
I approved it through HR.
Honestly, let's appreciate this. Let's appreciate this for a moment. We are not going to hear anything about overrating the Dallas Cowboys this week. It is the greatest blessing of our time.
Actually, guys, I'm kind of high on the Cowboys.
Damn it.
The Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Deuce NFC East is going to be very good. So Trey Lance is now third on the depth chart, behind Brock Purdy, who is starting. Brock Purdy was the last guy picked.
Mr.
Class. And then he's behind Sam Darnold, who was a former first-round pick. Trey Lance is a former number 3 overall pick. And in his career, he's played in 2 years, he's played 8 total games, 4 total starts. He has a career passing percentage of 54.9, which is pedestrian, to say the least. 5 total TDs, 3 INTs. Tom, I think you have some thoughts.
And here's the thing. I hope Trey Lance does well as long as he doesn't go to the Vikings. I really do. I hope that he gets an opportunity to go and play and be good, at least get a legitimate shot of being a great quarterback, right? Even Brett Coleman, I know it was a joke, but Trey Lance is going to be sent to the Andy Reid school of QBs who throw good that. I would love that, just to go sit and then just get shipped somewhere. But I've talked to Perna about this. The San Francisco 49ers, and maybe it's all because of jealousy and bitterness, which I am not ruling out, but they have gotten a pass from the national media for years and years. The Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love throws an interception. Oh my God, how dare the Green Bay Packers? It's the worst thing in the history of the world. You traded 3 first-round picks to go up and get him. You draft him, and now he's QB3. You haven't won a Super Bowl in God knows how long. You choke in the playoffs just as bad as we do. So I'm sorry. It's time, 49ers. The reckoning is here. It's finally here. And I hope Nick Bosa gets traded.
I mean,
they packaged Trey Lance with Nick Bosa.
That's fine. Oh, God, for the Vikings. But like seriously, though, they get such a pass, and they better thank Brock Purdy every single day that they lucked, and it is luck, that they lucked into the last pick of the draft and turned out he could be a starting QB. Because if they didn't have him and they're starting Sam Darnold week 1, oh boy, I would have been even more ruthless. But legitimately, this is such and I'm not even talking about Lance, this trade is so bad for the 49ers that no matter what they recoup, because they ain't getting a first-round pick back, what highest they're getting? Maybe a third, and that's a
maybe
fourth.
That's where I was probably going around. Dude, like, this is bad. And if they didn't have Brock Purdy, like, they would have been set back for a long, long time. And they might still. We have to see, how Purdy recovers from his injury.
The sad thing is, too, we don't even know what Trey Lance is. Everyone's saying, like, oh, Trey Lance didn't do well last year. No crap, because he played the Chicago Bears in an extremely rained-out game where you couldn't predict what a QB could be. He was used as a running back in his rookie year where he didn't really throw much. Week 2, he gets injured, busts his leg because Kyle Shanahan tries to use him as a running back. So we don't know what he is. He was supposed to be a very raw project with high upside. This was supposed to be the kind of guy that Kyle Shanahan would develop as a QB whisperer. I'm going to be quite honest. Kyle Shanahan's looking mighty overrated right now. And John Lynch, I mean, if this goes back, this is the kind of stuff that gets people fired. Because you traded 3 first-round picks. This is supposed to be the future of your franchise. You threw 3rd overall. And what has really have the Niners done? Like Kyle Shanahan proved, he never learned anything from 28-3 in the Super Bowl. He fell apart a couple times. And we don't even know if Brock Purdy's going to be good. He's came off a minor surgery with the UCL. That might get banged up again. Guess what? You're starting Sam Darnold.
Now, look, on the flip side, okay, I will play devil's advocates because nobody's taking up for the 49ers. Tom is just running in here shooting bullets like he's Yosemite Sam right at the 49ers. He's just rooting, tooting, shooting. They played in the NFC Championship game last year, and Brock Purdy didn't even have an arm. Like, they made it far. Like, I don't think they're honestly affected by Trey Lance. He wasn't there last year. Oh, yes, they did lose all that draft capital, and it could hit them. But they made a deep run last year.
They made a deep run out of spite. They had a chorus around him. Look at the talent they have on their roster. They had Christian McCaffrey. They have a bunch of different running backs. Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback in the league. George Kittle, generational talent at tight end. You could honestly argue Deebo Samuel, who's looking like a special wide
Their
receiver.
offensive lines, like they have Trent Williams, like they're
Bosa,
great.
You have Fred Warner, probably the best middle linebacker in football right now. Noah Hufanga, Troy Polamalu Jr.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, I guess you could say sort of tangentially that maybe that trade cost them a Super Bowl if they had those picks.
My point is that, okay, let's just fast forward a tiny bit, right? So how open would you say the 49ers window actually is? Now, granted, they're in a terrible conference because the NFC is poo-poo caca right now. On top of that, their only real competition within the division is probably going to be the Seahawks, maybe the Rams if Stafford is healthy, and that's a big if. So at this point, they can get to the playoffs. I have no doubt about that, regardless of who's behind center. It's do they have enough to get over the top? Because the argument that we have to keep looking at is whatever NFC team makes it to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to go through the AFC team who has gone through a gauntlet whether it's Joe Burrow, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's Lamar Jackson, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, they will have been so battle tested. Can you beat a Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl with a Brock Purdy?
Yes.
And I know it's not QB versus QB. I don't mean to simplify it that way. What I'm saying is that in those big moments, like when the 49ers were up by 10 and Jimmy Garoppolo's overthrowing his receiver in the Super Bowl, like that sometimes is the difference, especially against Patrick Mahomes.
I think like the one thing Brock Purdy showed last year was the ability to come in and command an offense right away, which is rare for rookie quarterbacks, and even more rare for a guy taken in the 7th round. I think he has poise. So I think in terms of a guy coming in and being able to be clutch, Purdy has that. I would trust Brock Purdy over Jimmy Garoppolo in a Super Bowl just based off the small sample size of what we've seen with Brock Purdy. And I think like if Brock Purdy is good, and yeah, the elbow injury, obviously a little bit of a concern, but I watched him in one series against the Broncos last week in the preseason. I'm like, this he's fucking ready to go. Like, it's just a few plays. It wasn't like he did anything crazy, but I'm like, he's going to be fine. If he's good, if he's their quarterback for the next 10 years, the gaffe with Trey Lance is completely irrelevant. And if they get anything back for him, then they're actually almost in a net positive there. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, the one thing is if you watch Purdy play, like he has a quick release. He has poise. Like if you look at the film, he does things that Trey Lance simply can't do. He does things that Sam Darnold simply can't do. And again, for being a 7th round pick, last guy picked, like he's a solid quarterback. There's a reason why he's number 1, QB1 on the depth chart. It's not an accident.
I think he's the best fit for the system. I think that's why with Purdy too.
Well, I mean, to talk about like Pern, if you're saying it's a net positive, like that also is a thing. Like the amount of impact players who came in and like immediately made a difference, like that's enormous. And they could have just sat there. They could have had 1st round picks these past few drafts and they're done. You know, and that could have potentially gotten them over. Like they made a move to go and get Trey Lance, and it blew up in their face, and they lucked into Brock Purdy. I mean, in the 7th rounder, you're not gonna be like, oh man, we did all this scouting on these guys. It's like, yeah, we did a little bit. Like, sure, like let's bring these guys in, and hopefully, if one of them makes the roster, you're like, we did it. You know, we did okay. So, I mean, again, I think it's kind of we're letting them off the hook a little bit, and by we, I mean just like I think they get a pass a lot. And I know that they're competitive and their story was really good last year. They had injuries all about and they couldn't keep a quarterback standing. And they made it to the NFC Championship game, and the way that ended felt very, very flat.
Yeah, they got their asses kicked.
But
also Purdy had no arm.
Pass, right?
Yeah.
Like I agree with everything you said, but also they still got to the championship game with that guy that they took there, which is impressive. But like you can't take away from the fact that they missed on Trey Lance, and they gave up a lot to go there for a guy who played very little in college. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, correct.
It's like that stat about Trey Lance, his total snaps, like from high school to a pro, is like what Geno Smith threw last season.
Less than 300.
So like that's a lot to give up for, and it was a weird year too, right? It was the COVID year. He came out after like the draft, so there wasn't like football really happening at the college level. And usually, like if you're a team in need of a quarterback, I don't mind swinging for the fences and missing. It's just, it's odd. It's the 49ers who seem to do everything so well, taking a big risk on a guy that just not a lot of sample size there.
It's ironic if you think about it, because they were actually the benefactors of an extremely desperate reach up as well. Mitch Trubisky. And they got Fred Warner, and they traded the pick that became Alvin Kamara out of it. And it was arguably the worst draft day trade of recent history until this one, if Trey Lance doesn't go anywhere. But you have to remember, guess who they picked after their selection? They had a lot of defensive talent come up there too. They picked Solomon Thomas, who does nothing. He was in a logjam. Now he's in LA. Yeah, he went to the Raiders, I think, and he's more or less a fringe guy or like a spot starter. He hasn't become much at all, which has me wonder, is there an issue with their talent assessment, or is it just something in terms of their player development? Because once again, we don't know what Trey Lance is. That's the problem.
That's the other question is like, did he get a fair shot, right?
But here's the thing.
He would have had a shot, but he got injured.
Jordan Love's starting, though. Like, that's the big difference here. He's QB3. It's not even like, oh, you'll back up Purdy and, maybe you'll get a check. You're QB3, and they're talking about shipping him off. So it seems like the 49ers we're way past that point of like, oh, let's see what the kid's got in them and give him a little bit more time to develop.
All right. That's the question is like, did he actually get a fair shot? Because I think he started 2 games and then Jimmy Garoppolo, he was not that good. And then Jimmy Garoppolo came in and they made a deep run.
And you have to remember that first game was that heavy rainstorm against Chicago, which neutralized any offense whatsoever. So you can't judge a quarterback off that. Either side.
The Saints should win their division. I think that's what everyone. I just don't think anyone cares about the NFC South.
I'm going to be quite honest. I think the Falcons have a good shot of winning that division.
Ooh.
No, fight me. I legitimately think they have the best shot because if you look at their offense, one of the best offensive lines in that division, they've really overhauled their defense. If Desmond Ridder becomes anything competent, last year they should have won 9 or 10 games, but they kept blowing games in the final seconds of regulation.
They were leading the division at some point.
Yeah, they were. They were close to leading the division multiple times.
All right, switching gears a little bit. Who are some comparable busts? Okay, if Trey Lance, 50 bomb.
Ready for the kitty. Appreciate you, Ty.
So if Trey Lance never ends up developing, right? Who are some comparable, or even in his current state, who is someone that you can compare to him and be like, oh wow, you were traded for, you had a lot of
Paxton
potential,
Lynch, baby, Paxton Lynch.
Worst case scenario would be Josh Rosen. Because
they
remember the Cardinals did trade up for him.
Oh, they did. You're right.
They traded, I think, a mid-round pick and I think like 2 mid-round picks to get him. And then he was just like a mess his rookie year. And I don't know how much of that was him and how much was just the mess of a system and team that the Cardinals were that year. They abandoned him in a year. And I mean, at this rate, I mean, like. I couldn't tell, but that's worst case scenario. But in terms of what he is now, I mean, I'm trying to think who like really is Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson's had more reps.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you have Rodgers talking about Wilson too. He's just like, and he's probably just talking, but he's just like, I'll play for a couple years and then Zach Wilson will take over after learning from me and you'll have 15 to 18 years of good QB play, which again, it's just, it's whatever. It's garbage. It means nothing. But I mean, the Jets are still holding on to him. And I think when we talk about the 49ers, we talk about how good the coaching is. We talk about the skill set, like the skill players that are around them, the offensive line, that you could bring in a Sam Darnold, put him behind center, and he's going to do well, right? Because the team that's supporting around him, I think it speaks volumes that Trey Lance is not even being given that same opportunity because they must really not like him. Like they have to.
Part of me feels like that Shanahan's setting up Lance to fail, and especially in a lot of like the first week of the preseason, like there weren't many open routes in most of those sacks. So it seems like he's lost in figuring out what to do. And it's like, okay, go out and swim, kid. That's what it feels like to me. I might be wrong, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, but you also don't know how bad he's been in practice. Like, and we don't know that. Like, he could be just complete ass in practice, and that's a lot where assessment comes down to. Is
I kind of wish Kyle Shanahan would just say that. Be like, look, we love Trey, but he's just been ass in practice.
Yeah, he's been practice ass.
I mean, Trey Lance makes a really good bean casserole.
Yeah, I think a player that is comparable to him might be Mitch Trubisky. Just traded up for him.
Like,
they somehow gave up more for Trey Lance than Mitch Trubisky, and
Trubisky played.
Yeah, Trubisky played.
Trubisky has backup upside, but still, it was a bad trade. I didn't like him coming out of college because he had limited experience too.
I think
he didn't really show me much in North Carolina, but still, it's like, I mean, once again, he had more of a chance to show what he was at the NFL than Lance.
The two things that are weird are the two things. One thing is weird is if the 49ers are going to try and trade him, right? And those are the rumors right now. Like they're trying to trade him. Like if you're San Francisco, wouldn't you have just kept him at number 2 on the depth chart to have his value up? And
That's
be like,
what I'm saying. Like he's
right?
that
Like
bad. Or they don't like him.
no, he's not good enough to be number 2. Now we're ready to trade him. But and what everybody has said to some extent is he hasn't really gotten a chance to play. It's the 1 and a fifth of a game. He had 3 passes before he got hurt in week 2 last year. Like you need a season to start to evaluate a quarterback, a season of actually playing under center. Like I forget what GM said it, but they're like, after 12 to 14 games, you know whether a guy has it or not. It doesn't mean they're exactly where they need to be, but he just hasn't been able to put out that sample size.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's.
Well,
we did a really good job talking about Trey Lance, guys.
I mean, Trey Lance, we'll see you as a Los Angeles Ram. I know they were talking about the Andy Reid school for quarterbacks who can't throw good and want to do other things good. I would say he goes to the Sean McVay school of quarterback revivals.
See, if I'm the Vikings, like I would hate this because if he worked out, if you're the Vikings, you have Kirk Cousins left 1 year. You want a QB to learn, like have him go behind Kirk Cousins, because say whatever you want about Kirk Cousins, but he's going to learn 2 things. 1, he is going to learn how to be a better quarterback. And 2, he's going to be able to spend Cole's cash efficiently. So it's a win-win for him either way, whether football's in his future or not. But legit, like having no pressure, like get a 4th round pick, have a nice day, sit Trey Lance for a year and say like, okay, let's see what happens.
I'm going to say one thing real quick. You're not getting Trey Lance in Minnesota. You're getting Aaron Rodgers next year. He's doing the Brett Favre cycle.
Oh, Kirk Cousins, first quarterback, $6 million guaranteed in Cole's cash, sets a record. Let me just throw in the Denver Broncos for Trey Lance. Why not? We got Jared Stidham, who hasn't looked great. We'll see if he plays better in this 3rd game. But get rid of Stids. Sorry, Stids, because I'm not getting rid of DiNucci. I am not getting rid of Ben DiNucci. Give me Trey Lance back there, because if it doesn't work out with Russ Wilson, it's an option.
If you're going to be honest, I
don't think
they
the Broncos
both fit the same
team.
profile, if you are being completely honest.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera.
So to pivot, let's talk about Trey Lance's teammate, Joey Bosa. Or was it Nick Bosa? Which Bosa?
Nick Bosa.
Sorry.
Joey plays in LA.
These big nose Republican defenders.
Where have you been, Chris?
Yeah. He's
we'll talk. We'll talk.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
How is this going to affect? Are they going to get it done? Let's talk about notable holdouts. We got Josh Jacobs. We got Bosa. We got Chris Jones. What's going on here? What's the speculation?
Chris Jones, Kansas City. You might not be seeing him this year. With the vibe I'm getting a lot of Le'Veon Bell vibes. Week 8, remember, Le'Veon said week 7, and that never happened. And how much is he making? Like 15 to 20 million? I know he wants more guaranteed money.
He's going to reset the market, dude. He's going to be the highest paid edge rusher in history.
Exactly.
Yeah. Isn't he worth it though? Isn't he the straw that stirs the Kansas City drink? Like basically Spagnuolo can't run his system.
Which about Chris Jones or Nick Bosa?
I'm sorry.
Jones.
Okay.
Jones. I'm sorry.
I mean, Karlaftis is not going to be Chris Jones.
Bosa wanting to get that money.
No. I don't think Bosa's worth that yet. No.
Oh no, I disagree. No, Bosa.
Do you think he's worth the money?
I guarantee. He will be the highest paid edge rusher in history. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Wow.
And if that happens, he ain't staying in San Francisco. They don't have the cap.
I think the deal gets done. I don't think the 49ers there's no way. They've talked about that too, just like how integral he is of that team. So I don't see it.
You don't see it. Okay.
They're gonna pay him.
So Josh Jacobs, I think the Dolphins were trying to trade for him, and then it just kind of got blocked or fell through. What's going on with that? Anyone know?
I'm not sure. I think the thing is, he'll probably show up week 1 of the regular season, probably have a couple weeks of rust. That's my best guess as to what happens. Jacobs is unfortunately in kind of a rock and a hard place because there's still some decent free agent running backs out there. I mean, Dalvin Cook got snagged up, Zeke got snagged up, and unfortunately, we'll talk about this later too. Jonathan Taylor
They don't
is
got
now
to pay
on
a
the market.
quarterback.
So it is what I mean. Josh, I mean, you're a great runner. You're gonna have a nice future, but you might have to swallow the.
Well, the
pill
Raiders
here.
also have no idea what the F they're doing.
Well,
so,
that's
like,
Josh
No.
McDaniels. I mean, this guy knows all about that.
Talk about like guys who should be on the hot seat. Josh McDaniels should not already he shouldn't be the coach of this football team.
The
right
only
now.
reason why Josh McDaniels is on that team is because the Raiders have all their money locked up in the Bank of America. They can't afford to fire him because they can't pay the severance.
So at this point, when you're talking about the Raiders this year, I mean, you look at their franchise guys. It's Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, who might not come back to play for them, and Max Crosby. And that's all you got. And Devontae Adams, I love Devontae Adams, right? How many more years does he have? 3, maybe something like that. 3, maybe 4, because he's early 30s. Like, he's starting to get up there as a wide receiver.
And he had a big injury too during the preseason.
Yeah, he had an injury. One, his best friend is not throwing him the ball anymore. And that's what I'm saying. The Raiders don't have those superstars. They have those 2 guys. They have Josh Jacobs when he's playing. They have no identity right now. So, I mean, even if the guy Jimmy Garoppolo got brought in, and Raiders fans were like, "Oh, okay, cool." That doesn't excite anybody. They don't have their franchise quarterback, so they're just trying to figure it out. And I think be giving a ton of money to Josh Jacobs, regardless of how talented he is, and he's incredibly talented. I don't think that's really in their plans. They have no incentive to. And then you look at the running back market, which gives them even further, reason not to.
Like Devontae Adams, I think his production goes down just because, like, when Jimmy G's throwing you the ball, it's hard to catch it when you're thinking about the fact that you might be attracted to your quarterback. So that's one thing Devontae is going to have to get over. The second thing, Chris Jones' holdout versus like Nick Bosa's right now. Like, Chris Jones already signed an extension once. Like, he got paid an $80 million extension. He's made like $67 million through his career. So, like, Bosa hasn't had that yet, right? Like, he was going into his 5th year or whatever. I don't even know, but he was still on the rookie deal. He's looking for his first big payday. So, like, him being holding out and the willingness to do it right now makes sense, just the timing. And Chris Jones is going into like the final year of his deal, so it makes sense that he'd be unhappy with it. But it is surprising to me that like Chris Jones and the Chiefs have let it get this far, because the Chiefs over the last like 4 or 5 fucking years have done everything right with their front office and their players. They make everything work. Tyreek Hill left. That was big,
and they still won
the Super Bowl. It feels like they're just playing the same leverage with Chris Jones, even though he's really important to the defense, the same way Tyreek Hill was to their offense. They're like, we'll get by without you because our defense might give up an extra 7 points a game. We have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they still just scored 30 points to your 22. We don't care.
I think it's also funny because like the 49ers and Chiefs both did similar things. They didn't trade up, but like they go out and they get Clyde Edwards-Helaire like to be like their franchise running back. And then they stumble into Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round, who is phenomenal. Right. So like they have the opposite problem, except the 49ers just did it and they traded a ton and it was with a QB. So yeah, I agree with Perna, because at that point, if they hit on like anybody in that draft, they're like, oh, this is great. Like, we're cool. We can win with Sky Moore, MVS, Juju Smith-Schuster. We're fine.
They're like, we'll just put Creed Humphrey on defense.
Yeah, that's fine.
He'll be defensive line. He can do everything.
Yeah.
Suck it.
They're like the Patriots when they pulled all the right levers, putting Troy Brown at safety and all that crap, or a cornerback. Like they're hitting on everything that they do, and sometimes that luck runs out. But you don't know when.
Well, that happened with Rob Gronkowski in safety, if you remember the Miami Miracle.
Yes. Speaking of bad luck, Broncos wideouts.
Oh my God, yes.
Where was he last year? That's what we're talking about.
It's time to put Brandon Perna on center stage. The Broncos wideouts cannot stay healthy. Latest drama involving Jerry Jeudy. Brandon, set it up for us.
Judy. Hamstring. He pulled his hamstring today at practice. It was a good couple hours. We didn't know the extent Of the strain, Ian Rappaport, Jerry Jeudy expected to miss several weeks with a moderate hamstring injury. That puts his status for week 1 in question, but there's optimism. It's nothing long-term for one of Denver's weapons. So that is not bad news.
Honestly, you're lucky it's not a season ender like it was for Tim Patrick, and it may be KJ Hamler.
I'll say this about hamstring injuries. If there's one position group you do not want hamstring injuries to happen to, it's receivers. Like, it affects them more than any other position. Even when they play through it, they lose explosiveness, they lose their burst. So he might be, quote, ready week 1, and ready in NFL doctors' terms doesn't mean he is healed, does not mean he's 100%. So I would prefer he miss maybe the first 2 weeks of the season until that hamstring's 100% ready to go. But yeah, shit's getting bleak there because he tweaks his hamstring. I don't know if it's a strain, a pull, a mild, I don't know what it is. Tim Patrick's gone. They lost Jalen Virgil last preseason game, who just made the best play of his career. KJ Hamler,
he has a heart condition,
released after a heart thing. I think there's a chance he could be back. So a lot of pressure is going to be coming in on Marvin Mims, the rookie. He might be starting as wide receiver 2 week 1 opposite Cortland Sutton now. So don't know.
Yeah. The only thing I will say too, AJ Green. Remember him in 2019? He had a hamstring issue. It was supposed to be a couple weeks. He's out for the entire year because it never really healed properly.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever really the same after that injury, if I remember correctly.
No, they're not good injuries for wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Well, hamstrings are just finicky muscles in general.
They hold like your leg to your butt, so kind of need that.
Yeah,
kind of like your hand,
and they hold like silly putty. If you think about it, it breaks real easily.
Yeah. Did you guys see Kevin Hart in a wheelchair after running?
Yes, he tried to outrun. Who did he try to race?
Stephon Ridley, the former running back.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I pulled my abductor, I ripped them. He's like, I don't know what I did, but I can't walk.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Cardinals, fire sale. Yeah.
Yes.
And like, I want to be very clear too, because I think it's very easy to crap on the Cardinals, and don't worry, I will. But like, Isaiah Simmons just has not worked out. If it's like kind of fitting what we're talking about right now, the draft is such a freaking crapshoot, man. You look at Jeff Okudah, right? 3rd overall. He got shipped off. Trey Lance didn't work. 3rd overall. Freaking Isaiah Simmons, 8th overall. Like, they are just, it's rough. It is rough. So they get a 7th round pick from the Giants over here.
Whoa. Yes. All right. I will play this. This is from draft night, I believe, 2019?
2020.
2020.
The cursed class.
Yes. This is me making an ass of myself during the draft here.
Can't hear.
Quiet. Oh.
Honestly, it's best that we don't hear because it's just you running your mouth about stupid crap.
You don't get to hear that? That doesn't show up?
We kind of hear you don't know who Isaiah Simmons is.
Yeah.
Kind of hear it, but not really.
Oh, sorry. Well, I guess that doesn't work.
I can't believe how funny it is that you failed on trying to play your failure.
So 5. Since we now know who Isaiah Simmons is, how do you feel about this trade for your New York G-Men?
I love it. I love linebackers. We signed another one free agent the other day. I don't even remember his name, but yeah, you're getting a 1st round pick from a couple of years ago that might have not been that productive, but fits Wink Martindale's scheme. And a lot of people, and you got him for practically nothing. 7th rounder? Come on, like, just scrap. So should be fine. Now we have both Isaiah Simmons and Andrew Thomas, who actually turned out to be a great left tackle, who I panned that pick very hard, but he ends up
because you wanted Mekhi Becton.
I did want Mekhi Becton, who I was also wrong about. So I was wrong all the way in that draft. I don't know what hashish I was smoking that day, but it must have been really good because I was.
Yeah, that's every day for you, though, man. That's every day.
I don't smoke every day.
Oh, dude, that's every day for you. Come on.
I whack off every day. I just don't smoke every day. That's what happens. All right.
But the Cardinals, so yeah, they traded him. They just traded one of their offensive linemen as well.
Josh Jones.
Yeah, Josh Jones. I mean, the Cardinals we've been talking about, they're in a weird place. I think that they are currently the favorite to be the worst team in the league next year. I think that there's not too much controversy with that, but they're going to be in a weird spot because Kyler Murray's going to come back at some point this season, hopefully. And then it's like, okay, how good are you? You have a new GM, you have a new head coach. Do you go in a new direction, even though you just gave Kyler Murray a ton of guaranteed money? And if you're sitting there at number 1 and Caleb Williams is there, which he was like, I don't know if I'm going to declare yet. We'll just see what team is number 1 overall. But
it depends.
If we've learned anything in the NFL, though, everything can be undone, right? You're not albatross to some guy. You can just cut him. You can just eat it and suck and amass draft picks. It's what they're doing. They have so many draft picks. They have like 8 or 9 already for next year or something. Like they
have Texans first too.
Right. And then they go out and have a 2-win season. And then they're going to be picking right at the top of the draft too. Like I think they are in full tank commander mode. They are just ready.
They are cleaning the pieces. Cleaning the pieces from the awful Cliff Kingsbury and Kyle Rain, which we all knew was going to be terrible. Let's be completely honest with ourselves.
Who do you think is
the only people that didn't know that was going to be terrible was the Bidwells. Like that was it.
I think Isaiah Simmons has like a really good chance to resurrect his chances of like sustaining a career in the NFL. He played 2 seasons with my current defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph. And they drafted him. He was like this hybrid player, right? Like,
yes,
they didn't know if he was going to play safety or linebacker because he's like 6'2", super athletic.
Yep.
Like a little big for a safety, a little small for like a linebacker in terms of, I don't know, being stout. But his first season, they used him primarily as the weak side linebacker.
Yes.
Second season, he was primarily in the safety position with a lot of snaps as like your slot corner. So I feel like they just haven't figured out what he does well, and Arizona didn't do anything well last year. So if he goes to a place where they stay true to what his skill set is, and I don't even know what that is at the NFL level because we just haven't seen it. Like he's like one of those players, like this is a trade now. We're talking about it because of where he was drafted, but it's kind of small, but he might be a really good player.
I tell you, if he's coming to the Giants, they're going to expect him to blitz. Okay, like because they blitz with a lot of man coverage behind it. So for him to play safety or some type of zone, or if he thinks he's going to be a robber or something like that, no, that's not happening. He is going to be expected to fire.
Got another Cardinals trade.
Oh,
Browns are sending Josh Dobbs and a 2024 7th round pick to the Cardinals for a 5th round pick.
So Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the backup in Cleveland. Interesting.
So wasn't Josh Dobbs named the backup today? And then they just
yesterday, yes. Kellen Mond got waived.
Yep.
Wow. What does Cleveland do? I guess that's a question that we ask all the time.
If DTR winds up being the starting quarterback by the end of the year,
it would be fantastic.
Oh,
dude. If he becomes the star and Deshaun Watson stuck with him, I will laugh.
And they have to pay him like $64 million.
$60 million with buyout proof.
Yep.
If DTR starts a game, I might cover my entire body in mayonnaise and do the show like that.
Why? So Will Levis can try and eat you?
Yes.
Honestly,
he signed a lifetime contract with Hellman.
Yep.
You know who we need to see this year? The week 1 super stud of the preseason, Malik Cunningham. Let's go.
There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh, I want to play this one. Oh, damn. I didn't. Actually, I have to download this. You guys find something to talk about while I download this. Because this was wild. I was expecting to be able to play it, but
if we're speaking about calamities, let's talk about a little situation in Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor demanding a trade. Jim Irsay's pretty much run himself into a corner again. He's now looking for deals. And there are a couple rumors going around. Philadelphia's hot on them. Miami's interested. A few other teams could use a running back. Say maybe the Raiders decide to go and trade for Jonathan Taylor to give like a big fat middle finger to our friend Josh Jacobs. Maybe a Jacobs for Taylor trade. could be in the works. But I know that the situation's getting ugly, and apparently he has till Tuesday to find a trade. So my question is, Brandon, let's start with you. Do you think Jonathan Taylor's going to get traded? And what do you think the return's going to be? Because Indianapolis apparently wants a first or close to a first.
Yeah. I think he will get traded because I think there's like real interest there. I don't think they're going to get a first. Nope. What I'm hoping for is what you just said. Jacobs, Taylor's trade, and they both still hold out. Like it's the funniest
exact same situation.
Ever.
Yes. Dude, that'd be fantastic.
Oh my God. The internet would break.
Oh, dude. Tom, do you agree? Do you think Taylor's going to get traded?
Here's the problem. One, he only has until Tuesday, and I know like a couple teams have said like they're interested, but the Colts are like, we don't like the value, because the Colts are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're like, we don't value running backs, but we're not giving this guy up for anything less than X, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think Jonathan Taylor wants to play for the Colts anymore. I think that relationship is kind of ruined just from the stuff that I've looked into. Yes. That's just my read on it. But I mean, Tuesday is a pretty short deadline. They have to finalize 53-man rosters. I get it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it just comes down to, hey, there's a team willing to like give a second rounder to us, and we'll just take that because we're not going to get anything for them. But
they have no leverage at this point. They've destroyed the relationship.
It's weird.
I mean, Jim Irsay has pretty much like proven himself to be a clown again, because like if he kept his mouth shut, Jonathan Taylor would be in camp line. Because what happened on that bus? Because they had a private meeting, and after that, Taylor just got so pissed off that he said, "Screw it, I ain't being here." And now they're talking about playing on the non-football injury list.
Yeah.
And, stripping him of his salary, which, I mean, if you want a good way to screw over a player, Redskins know all about that with Trent Williams.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
The old commissioner exempt.
Quick question.
I think he gets traded, but for a very low value, like third or fifth or something like that. I think the Colts don't have any leverage here. They don't have first-round leverage with Jonathan Taylor. You have a player that doesn't want to play for you. That's already pissed off. Like he wants to go. So I think if he does get traded, which I think he does get traded, it's for a low value fifth.
Where does he go? Like, I think everyone just talks about that. Anytime there's a running back that's slightly available, they're like, Miami. Going to Miami right now. Dolphin. You're a Dolphin. This would be a big move for them. Mike McDaniel would actually have to run the ball, though. Like, because they have, like, two competent running backs in Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Like, they're not bad. They got some speed. Are you going to then say, all right, we're going to go get this guy for 1 year because you have to give him a new contract, right? I would assume that's going to be part of the agreement.
It has to be an extension. Like, it's going to be a signing trade.
So
I know, as I said, Philadelphia is the one team I'm hearing about rumors looking into the deal. And just watch, they'll probably trade him for Kenneth Gainwell and a fourth. Just watch it be something like that.
Yeah, the Eagles doesn't make that. It would have to be like Penny or Swift that they're moving again. Like those are three. That's just too many backs. There's too many running backs there.
Honestly. Dude, if you're Denver in the 2000s, you're salivating at that because you can flip them every single time and have that O-line pound holes for him.
Pound holes. That's what I like.
I mean, I don't know if there's any merit to this, but like they're talking about Jonathan Taylor here in Denver.
I mean, with him and Javonte Williams,
it's on the radio here, so somebody's thinking about it somewhere.
It's always on the radio.
Always.
I'd take him in Pittsburgh if they didn't have Jalen Warren and Najee.
Yeah, Warren.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather have Taylor over Najee. That's just me.
Right, but that's
I got nothing against
Jonathan Taylor is those two backs in one, right? Like he can ground and pound. He has the big playability, and he's great at catching passes out of the backfield.
Talk about the Bears too. Like the Bears, I mean, because they got like Khalil Herbert and stuff, but I mean that wouldn't be Jonathan Taylor. They have the cap room, like they could.
I feel like they'd be better off trying to get a Bosa or a Chris Jones. I feel like
they're not getting either of those guys. Though.
No.
I know, but as I'm saying, they have the cap to pull it off.
It's crazy how high the expectations are for the Bears this year,
and they are so
unwarranted.
I mean,
completely unwarranted.
I'm trying to play like devil's advocate here. This is the first time that the Bears have had a quarterback since the Great Depression. So I understand their mentality, but Fields hasn't proven he can throw accurately yet.
Yeah.
Like, let's pump the brakes. Let him play in the season. If it works out, great. You have a quarterback. If not, I mean, you have a quarterback who is an electric runner but has issues throwing the ball accurately.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I think that Justin Fields will do better this season because, like, DJ Moore, I love DJ Moore. I think he's a phenomenal wide receiver. Excellent. I think, they learned their lesson of like, okay, like this is how you actually scheme for Justin Fields and like let him be mobile and let him do things. I think they'll be better. I just don't think like they're going to be a playoff team because I think they have too many holes in the defense now. That's because they shipped a lot of guys off. And like I said, their record will be better than the worst in football that it was last year. But yeah, like I see them kind of as like this weird, like middle of the road team this year. And then we'll see what they do after that.
Yeah. And that's better. Yeah. Like you said, that's an improvement on last year. But yeah, all these expectations coming out are to me unwarranted. All right. Wrapping up the show. There's EA. Aberica says 6 to 7 wins.
Aberica.
Jerry Jones had some wild comments about Sam Williams today, who was caught speeding again. Now, this is his second time getting caught speeding. To give you a little context, and let's.
After he drives 100 miles an hour and has a wreck, in this, I mean, how do you conjugate all of it? How do you balance those things? Well, first of all, I'm saying that he is, which is more often the case than not. This sounds a little hollow, but he does and is maturing, and he is. What was he going, 66? Was he going 66 miles an hour? Last year? No, this year. So he's 34 miles an hour less than this year than he was last year. 98, 66, so that's improvement.
Does Jerry Jones just not give a fuck anymore?
He's like speeding. I had Michael Irvin doing cocaine and stabbing people with scissors. I do not care about speeding.
I feel like Jerry, and maybe I'm off base here. I feel like Jerry Jones, for a lot of players, goes to bat for them a lot.
Oh yeah,
like if he likes you, he's like, yeah, no. Like even just being in Dallas for a little bit and hearing how they talk about Dak. And listen, Dak is a good quarterback. He has his faults. We don't know if he's like the guy. But good God, man, like the way that organization talks about him, they're just like, nope, he's this amazing part of the community. Like he's a staple. He's our guy. Like even Zeke, like we knew how many years back we were like, Zeke should not have gotten that contract. Like there's no way. Like, and like he stuck by him. Like Jerry, if he likes you, like he sticks with his players.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of Jerry. Yeah, he's like the kind of boss that you still talk about. It's like, yeah, that guy had my back, man. Like, if he likes you, for sure.
Of course. And if you can play the football, Jerry loves you.
Yeah, Jerry loves you.
He would legitimately, if you turn around and you're like, how much does a Super Bowl cost this year? And they were like $10 billion, he'd pay it. Mm-hmm. Like he legitimately wants a Super Bowl that badly that he's just like, I don't care. Like whatever it takes. Yep.
Like sure. If he loves you, you could literally kill several people. Jerry Jones will not only pay you your bail, he will give you an entire boatload of people for you to kill.
He's like, how many victims this year? 2. Well, it was 3 last year, so that's 1 less.
Honestly, you were charged with first-degree murder before. Now it's third-degree murder. You are maturing.
The temperature's going down.
Yeah. You did not have intent.
Right. You only, it was a double homicide. A single. All right, and then also here to wrap up the show as we get to the punishment and the countdown. CeeDee Lamb was made a video here about in camp. Let's see this one.
Everybody do me a favor and pass the message. Deuce, stop leaving your cleats and your gloves in the locker room. This is not your home.
All right.
Yeah,
funny I don't get the joke. Those look like regular size shoes to me.
I know they do, buddy. I know they do.
Someday you'll hit that growth.
What's so funny about that?
There's no. It's just
you're a little
shoes on the table. It's funny.
Everybody do me a favor and pass the message. Deuce, stop leaving your cleats and your gloves in the locker room. This is not your home.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I get you were a member of the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz, but I understand maybe it's a tough subject for you, but you have to learn to let it go, dude.
Isn't the new Snow White movie? There's like only one dwarf.
They look like a bunch of Starbucks baristas.
Yeah, like they couldn't.
Didn't even see. No.
Yeah, it's because the little people, like, I guess it's offensive now to have 7 dwarves. You can only have like 1 dwarf, right? I don't know. It's 2020.
Countdown.
All right, can we do the countdown?
Yeah. Somewhat coherent show. That's right, baby.
Is it really coherent?
Yeah.
Not really.
1 in 19, 19, 17, 16, 15, 4. We did it without 5 people. There were only 4. Yep, I just found the number 4 with the word 4. So I think they're both numbers. Well, that's fine. Good job, Tom. It was good.
$33.99. Thank you.
Brandon. 90-60.
Ooh, 73.98.
Tom.
Yep, I got my ass kicked. $244.05.
Got it.
Honestly, I'm happy I lose this. Let's go.
What do we got? Should you have to go to the Fire Festival too?
That's a little pricier. I mean, unless he does it for charity. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
I think
When are they? Did they just announce that it's happening, or did they announce?
I think so. That might be something that people actually go to now because it's so like.
Oh, it's a meme.
I mean,
Yeah, they just want the experience of just sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah. Like,
well, the show's over, Jesse. So
honestly, Jesse, you're doing a good thing, buddy.
he's like, I'm done.
Let's think of a punishment for Tom. Shave his balls. I don't know.
Manscaped that?
No.
Tom has to do my next 30 Manscaped ads.
He just does less work for Perna.
I like that. Okay.
200 some odd dollars. Let's see.
Oh, you got to buy that autographed Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers jersey from the ESPN guy.
What?
Oh my god!
What?
Bro, he wouldn't even pick up he wouldn't even answer a DM. That was so cringy. It was so cringy.
Do the Jets and Packers play this season?
No.
Actually, this isn't a bad one. Mayo coffee.
I can't have either. I don't drink coffee, and I can't have mayo.
That's right.
That's right. I can't have dairy, or that would kill you. That would be.
Well, no, the mayo one. Mayo's just egg, but I don't eat it because the whole grass people thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't know mayo was egg. I thought it was something else.
No,
I thought it was just oil of some kind.
Okay.
We gotta think of something. Come on, guys. Their donations came to you. And now
we punished Tom so many times. I don't even know how.
I think he should have to slather mayo on his body, just rub it all on his chest, and just grease himself.
Didn't you just say you were going to do that? What's with you and mayo today? Just on mayo?
No, I think
you saw the Will Levis announcement, and you're just like, it should have been me, damn it!
I just want to be covered in mayo. I don't know.
That's the life I want to live. That's it.
I don't know.
A lot of creativity.
Guys, think of something.
Yeah. That's the. I mean, everything just like goes crazy.
This is going well.
Yes, very, very well.
You have to adopt a cat.
I have 2.
You have to adopt an orange cat and.
I used to have orange kitties.
Kitty goes
in a baseball game, maybe. Brewers game.
Ooh.
Like
you have to go to the Brewers. You have to go to.
Brewers are actually doing well this year.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know.
I'm trying to think what.
Dress as Deuce Vaughn.
Maybe a promotional video about the Chicago Bears.
Ooh, Bears hype video.
I could do a Bears hype video. That's fine.
All right, a Bears hype video, but like kind of semi-slanderous. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll take care of it.
Okay,
What was the Bears rap from the 80s?
Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah, something with the Super Bowl Shuffle-y.
I got it. I'll make the greatest hype video.
Okay, the greatest Bears hype video.
But it will also be very satirical.
Okay. And do the entire show dressed as a Jigglypuff.
I could do Jigglypuff's voice too.
Oh yeah.
Is that a pokey guy?
Yes.
It is a poke. Oh my god, it would make Perna insane.
No.
That sounds more like a GPS punishment.
We don't do punishments on that show. We just roll off the rails.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that this show though?
Chicago Bears hype video.
All right.
Easy. Can we end this show? I don't know what we do.
Hey.
All right.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
See ya. Peace.
I'm Tom.